public sector of education for 6 years. 3 of these years were spent in public schools with special education classrooms, and most recently, 3 years with the University of New Mexico in the Early Childhood Services Center. Her credentials include a Bachelor of Science in Writing. In her current role as a training and development consultant contracted through UNM, Emily spends the majority of her time in the field with administrators and educators. So housed in Albuquerque, she travels to over 40 cities across the state to visit early childhood programs and assess their performance on a tiered quality rating system currently being pioneered by New Mexico. This work requires self-directedness, leadership, and a strong commitment to improving the overall quality of early childhood education. Emily, could you please tell me about any recent organizational or personal accomplishments?
Yes, I would love to. So our project at UNM is a pilot project, and it is called Focus, and it's one of a kind across the nation. We started this pilot in 2012 with about 45 early childhood programs, and we're nearing the end of our pilot phase here at the end of 2016, and we've welcomed over 300 early childhood programs, both center and home-based, in the state of New Mexico. And personally, I've worked with this program for 3 of those 4 years, and we will continue on after our pilot has completed. And I was recently promoted from their coordinator of education support to a consultant verifier. So this accomplishment has allowed me to move back into the classroom and affect change on a more personal and fulfilling level.
Well, how wonderful. Could you please tell me a little bit about how your organization works and what your role is in that?
Absolutely. So I work with the University of New Mexico, but we are actually contracted through the state of New Mexico, and more specifically the CYFD, which is the Child, Youth, and Families Department in New Mexico. And so what they have done is, using best practices and some of our national standards, they have created a rating system for the programs of New Mexico, and it's 3 tiers. And so at each of those different levels, we have subsidized funding that we're allowed to give those programs, and it's based off of their quality. So we have a consultation method as part of our contract, and that's really our role. Is we look at what the state is asking for the programs to do, and we go in and we support the programs on a one-on-one level. We work with the directors, administrators, and educators to help improve their quality and help them get to that next level of quality. So not only does that improve the lives of children and families in New Mexico, but it also helps them financially support their program, because as people become more educated and become more proficient in their jobs, then we want to compensate them for that also. And so we build that quality through, like I said, a consultation method, and our consultants work out in the field with those programs. And then my role as a verifier, I go into a program when they feel like they're ready to move up to that next level, and I look at the different requirements that the state set forth, and if they complete those requirements, then they move to the next level.
Well, how interesting. In your role as a verifier, I'm sure that you do have to have certain leadership skills and style. What is that style, and how have you worked on it over the years?
So I work very closely with our management team. We work together weekly, and we're set all across the state. We have 3 managers and 3 verifiers and 1 senior program manager that acts as our management team that I'm a part of. And we work very closely together to make sure that we're all coordinating things in the same way, that we're sending the same message to the programs. And on a personal level, every day in my job, I use my leadership skills when I'm working with directors, because essentially I'm trying to guide them to what works best for their program, but at the same time I don't know their program as well as they do. So my particular leadership style, I work with adults, so I prefer, teaching others to be self-directed in their learning, to setting their own goals. And I think when adults can set their own goals, that they find more value in their work, and when they learn or when they achieve those goals, it's more meaningful for them. And so we do self-studies, we have recommended assessment tools, and we sit down and we work with the directors and kind of don't tell them what to do, but guide them in the direction that works best for their program. So it's also very relationship-based, and we just, we want to give them a lot of personal autonomy. And over the years, I would say over the past few years, we've worked a lot harder on bringing our community together and seeing what different directors are doing in their sites and how we can all learn from each other. And through that, we offer roundtable discussions. We do a lot of feedback sessions, and we try to offer transparency with what we're doing, so that way programs feel comfortable with us and they can kind of take control of what they're doing.
Do you feel like the nonprofit sector could use more leaders like this that would be helpful, beneficial for them?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think something that's really important in nonprofit organizations is that you're sympathetic to your community's needs, and that you're always, you can't do it alone, and so you have to be motivational and let people see the value in what you're doing. And I think you also need to gather input from those people who are most affected by what you're doing. And I think by doing that, what you're doing becomes stronger and has more intentionality in it.
Can you think of an effective nonprofit organization that has benefited from this type of leadership?
I think there's a really good national nonprofit organization called TEACH, and they operate at a state level. It's for states who are interested in participating, and there are several in the United States that are involved in it. New Mexico is one of them, and they basically, they're a very effective nonprofit organization because they spend most, if not all, of their time in the community that they serve. And their goal is to bring more education to these areas where early childhood education is really up and coming within the last 10 years, and there are a lot more expectations put on those types of educators that weren't before, and so their role is to help build education and then make sure that teachers are fairly compensated. And they work closely with the programs themselves, but they also do a lot of networking with programs like Focus, who are also working with them. So they're informing everyone that has some kind of connectedness to early childhood, to show, to let people know that this is something that's available. There's scholarships and licensures that they can help pay for. And I think just that kind of, they travel all over the state. And just being that closely connected with the community, I think that's one of the strongest abilities that you can have as a nonprofit organization.
Well, I have one more question for you. If you could please, how can nonprofit leaders improve their skill sets to better aid their organizations?
I think something that has really helped me personally is taking courses that have to do with adult learning in organizations. I think when you're working with adults and not just teaching them, but just collaborating with them and motivating them, it's really important to learn what motivates adults and what gets them interested in the things that you're trying to tell them about. And I think that's important. That has been a huge step for me, just learning about that little sector that I didn't know much about before. I think networking is really important. Being on top of what's going on in your community and just being out there in it. I don't think you can be as successful just being in an office and working on paperwork. I think you have to be out there and doing it and experiencing what those people are experiencing that you're trying to serve.
No doubt. Well, thank you again, Emily, for your time. It's been my pleasure in getting to know more about your organization and your role in making good things happen for the children of New Mexico. Thank you so much, and you have a great evening.
Great. Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.